طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So welcome to the wireless communications course. My name is Amr Mohammed. Currently I'm the head of department, and I'm a professor in the department since 2007. Before that I was in Canada. I got my master's and PhD from University of British Columbia. It happens to be in wireless communication, although I'm a little bit away from this field for a few years. But I'm happy to be back and to teach this course. Do we have students from electrical engineering here? I was informed. Okay, right. Okay. So anyway, the first thing, the office hour is going to be from 4 to 5 every Tuesday, so it's right before the class. And I usually make it this way just to be convenient for me and for the students. So I'll be in my office in room 333, C 333, on the second floor. This is the class schedule. The course description, and I warn people from electrical engineering, there is if you have done your undergrad in electrical engineering here, the course is a little bit redundant to what you have studied. So probably you will be a little bit in advance in terms of these topics. So the course focuses on fundamentals of wireless communication. So we'll be talking about the basic characteristics of wireless signals in different frequency spectrum, and we'll be focusing on channel coding and modulation techniques and so on and so forth. Then the second part of the course is going to focus on the standards of wireless communication, starting from first generation all the way to possibly 5G. The satellite communication part is going to be optional in the course, so if we have time, we'll get to it. So we'll see how it goes, inshallah. Okay, so just to warn you, the prerequisite for this course is network. Is any course in computer networks. So if you have taken a course in computer networks like Network 1, it's good enough. If you have taken course Network 2 or any kind of signals and systems course, it's much better. But if you have not taken any of these courses, you will have serious issues. So you will not be able to follow up. So at least you need to have fundamentals about computer networks and the protocol stack and all the protocols and different stack layers. So this is the minimum you should have. Of course, if you have prior background about wireless through Network 2 course or signals and systems and these things, then it's okay. It's better. It's much better. Okay, but if you don't have background in these issues, it's going to be so hard. Of course, I assume people from electrical engineering, they have even gone through some advanced courses in wireless communication, so they will be familiar with some of these topics. Okay. All right, so the textbook is going to be Mobile Communications, the second edition. I would say it's a little bit old textbook, but it has the fundamentals and what we need to cover in this course. Of course, the other textbook is going to be a secondary source of information. But in addition to this, as you will see once I discuss the objectives and the assessment criteria of the course, that we will have to explore contemporary topics in wireless communications in general through some tutorials and seminars that it has to be delivered by the students, as well as possibly some colleagues from outside. Okay, feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. The main broad objective of the course is to understand and analyze contemporary wireless communication concepts and technologies and paradigm and techniques. And the objectives or the course learning outcomes of the course are divided into two parts. The first two learning outcomes are focused on the topics of the course. So the first one is to understand and analyze the transmission technologies, circuit switched and packet switched. So of course, these are fundamentals that most of you are familiar with. But of course, we'll explore the radio frequency, planning, regulations, signal propagation, channel coding techniques, and also multiplexing techniques, including frequency division multiplexing and TDM and CDMA and all of these techniques. And then the second part, we're going to understand and analyze different wireless communication technologies, including wireless LANs and cellular communication. So this is the second part of the course. The other two learning outcomes will focus on the hands-on work of the course. The first one is to design and analyze simulation models for different wireless communication paradigms. So you will see some components in the assignments will focus on some hands-on work using MATLAB or using Python, so that you can program some of these multiplexing techniques and measure the performance and be able to compare between these modulation and multiplexing techniques. The last learning outcome is to collect, analyze, and present state-of-the-art wireless networking literature, and this is, of course, focuses on the project part. So the course, as you can imagine, is project-based, so a very significant component of the course is going to be focused on the project, and I'm going to discuss this in a minute. So the project is a significant component of the course, okay? All right, so these are the topics of the course. So we're going to cover some motivation and introduction about wireless communication, hopefully today. And then we are going to discuss some fundamentals related to radio transmission, digital modulation techniques, radio frequency planning, and multiplexing techniques. And this is going to be the first part of the course. And this will cover in the book chapter 1 and 2 roughly. And then we are going to go through the radio access methods for cellular communication. So we're going to, you will see fundamental differences when it comes to MAC layer in cellular communication versus the MAC layer that we have studied possibly in Network 1 or Network 2. And then we are going to, the second part of the course is going to focus, I actually embedded that topic, although it's not in the book, but I find it really useful, especially for students who want to work on research related to wireless communication. So this radio resource management part is not in the book, but I will cover it through some slide set, and I will of course post this on Blackboard, where I will go through some some modeling and optimization frameworks related to how you can do some resource allocation in wireless. Okay, so that part is not in the book, but I will cover it. And then in the second part of the course, we are going to focus on cellular communication standards, starting from first generation all the way to possibly 5G. 5G is not covered in the book because the book is a little bit old, as I said, but we'll try to cover some of these aspects in the course. The last part, of course, is related to student seminars, which I will talk about in a minute. So every student in the class is expected to deliver at least one seminar. And some of you have already, noticed the seminar schedule. Of course, people who have taken courses with me before, they are familiar with this. So they have, taken some proactive approach, and they have reserved some, slots. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. So this is the assessment criteria, right? So the assessment criteria is divided as follows. So we have assignments. So I'm going to post 3 assignments. So possibly one assignment is going to, focus on hands-on development task where you have to develop some multiplexing and modulation techniques and compare and provide some performance evaluation for these techniques. Another one will be focused on, I will give you a paper and I will ask you to analyze this paper based on answering some specific questions. And the third one is probably going to focus on some questions from the book where you have to answer these questions, and usually this is like some kind of a preparation for you before the midterm. So usually we post this assignment as the last assignment towards before the midterm.
Shouldn't be the first since midterm is in the midterm.
I'm going to tell you, it's not midterm. You will see. Midterm is pretty much a final. Because we don't have a final. Okay? So as you can see here, there's no final. Okay? I have introduced two slight differences in this course based on some experience from previous courses. I noticed that students, because we don't have a midterm and a final and so on, usually students, they don't actually look at the material at all until 1 week before the midterm. I noticed this over like multiple offering of different grad courses. The assumption is that for graduate students, they are supposed to plan things ahead and so on, and and be on top of things. But I have noticed that due to some pressure and possibly some of you have like some outside commitments and stuff like that. So if you don't have immediate needs, you don't look at the material until the very last week. So to resolve this problem, I have debated with myself and I introduced a slight difference. So we're going to have two quizzes, two light quizzes in the middle. So probably in the 5th week, we're going to have one quiz. In the 10th week, we're going to have one quiz, something like that, so that students will be forced to go through the material. Seminars. Seminars is actually essential. It's a way for us to to get exposed to some of the latest issues related to wireless communication. So I'm going to ask each student to deliver a seminar, and this is a preparation for you. For any grad student, you're supposed to be able to deliver technical information to an audience. So this is essential part for any grad student. So it's a way for us to to practice this in the course. So each student is expected to deliver one seminar. Based on the number, I cannot imagine that we have two. So the number is a little bit high. So probably we'll have each student delivering one seminar. But there is another presentation that students will have to deliver, which I'll talk about in a minute. For the seminars, there is a posted schedule on Blackboard. So there is a link. I'm not sure if you have access to it. If not, I'm gonna have to. I don't have access to the course from electric engineering until now. I'm not sure.
I'm a student of computing engineering.
Okay. So you are the only one, or?
Background of it.
Okay, sorry, okay. Because, computer colleagues in electrical engineering, they told me that they have students and they will probably co-list a course with our course, so there will be some students from electrical engineering attending the class. But anyway, if you are computer engineering, then you have access to the material anyway, and you have access to the schedule. So we have a presentation next week. So we need to have either a volunteer, or if you fill the slots, then there will be a slot for someone to deliver a presentation next week. So the seminar is very important, and pay attention to this, because in many cases students, they don't focus on this, and they format the seminar in different ways. So we have very, specific expectation when it comes to seminars. So I will post right after the class, I will post even the project description. Okay, the project description is going to have a list of topics for the project, but you can use the same list to try to select any kind of topic that you can focus on for the seminar and or the project. Okay. When you focus on a topic, you need to read about this topic, and then you need to find at least two papers related to that topic, and read them deeply. And then in the presentation or the seminar is going to have three components: introduction about the topic, general introduction about the topic, cover the two papers. Okay, cover the first paper. When you cover a paper, this means that you give the idea about this paper, why this paper addresses this particular topic, what is the approach that they have used, okay, and what are the key results. Okay, so you have to do that for each paper. Then at the end, it's also important to add a very I find it useful component, which is like you try to criticize these papers. Okay, many students, especially in the beginning, they have the perception that these papers are perfect, and people who have done these papers are geniuses. But if you think deeply, you will find that pretty much all work, they have some limitations and they have some kind of drawbacks, and in some cases, I'm a little bit, I hate to say this, but even flaws. So when you think deeply about these papers, sometimes you will have some ways to criticize these papers. Okay, so we need to also practice this. So these are the 3 or 4 components in the seminar, right? So introduction, general introduction. You try to use visual aids as much as you can, and then you cover the 2 papers, and then you criticize or you provide some conclusion where you include some criticism for these papers. Okay? If you are in doubt about these papers, of course, I assume some of you are still starting. This is probably the first semester, so you will, it will be vague for you to search for papers and to try to identify which paper is good, which paper is bad. So feel free to engage me in your paper selection and send me a list of papers, and I can probably give you some feedback, which paper is good, which paper is not worth actually going through. Okay? واضحة النقطة دي؟ Very important. Huh? So this is the seminar. So midterm is essentially a final. So keep in mind that midterm is accumulative. So it covers the material of the course, the entire material of the course, and usually it's towards the end. This
is directing to another, because when you read midterm, you think it's somewhere in the.
Yeah. So another alternative is to offer a midterm and a final. I don't mind. Usually students they prefer this setting because in graduate course, I mean, written assessment is essential, but it's one of the components. But there are some other components that students needs to be exposed to. So very soon, some of you are maybe PhD students. You are supposed to do some comprehensive exam and candidacy exams and maybe defenses. Some of you are graduating, so you need to be able to to deliver thesis presentation and so on. So the assessments are focused on the skills that any grad student should have. Okay. The project. The project is a very significant component, as you can see, 30%. And of course, the project has 3 phases. Many of you are familiar with this. We cannot just assume that you have one final outcome and that's it. So we have some intermediary outcomes, and basically 3 outcomes. So the first part is the initial proposal of the project. I will post the project description. Based on the number, I think we can have 2 per group, and it's only 2, so you need to divide yourself into a group of 2, okay? And you need to define a scope. So the initial proposal should have a scope, a title, a small description, and some objectives. So you will see that in the project description, okay? So this is the proposal. The proposal is actually due in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, you should have a group and you should have an idea about what you plan to do, okay? Another slight difference in this course, there is phase 2, and phase 2 is probably around maybe the 7th week or so, or maybe 8th week. We'll agree on this. Students are supposed, or the groups, the different groups are supposed to submit a phase 2 report. The phase 2 report should have everything in the project except for the final results, basically. Okay? There is a template, so you will write the report based on a template. So usually we try to force students to write actually a paper, a template of a paper, okay? So you will include in that paper everything about, like the detailed design, the approach that you want to use, and so on. I'm not expecting to see results, although if you have results, it's fine. It's perfectly,
Results is available in phase 2, does that mean that it's done for phase 3 too?
Nothing is done. Nothing is done. Do not ever have the perception that research is done. Research is never done. So if you have results, this means that you have enough time to really improve. Okay? Which means that you will reach to a much more mature level, which means that maybe you will get a bonus. So in the project description, I have actually highlighted that if you actually deliver a project outcome that's equivalent to a journal standard, but this means that you need to have a ready publication by the end of this course. Okay? Then you can have a bonus. The bonus in the project is up to 4%. Okay? So it's significant. To be honest, I have never seen someone, almost never, I've never seen someone who started a new thing from scratch in the course and really delivered a journal paper at the end of the course. It almost never happens.
Conference paper maybe?
Conference paper is okay. So usually people who have this level, who reach this level, usually they have some topic that they have been working on. They just need to extend or expand the work and work on different. But the area itself, they almost master the area, so they have some extensions to the work, and they can really reach that level. But if you're starting something from scratch, it's hard. It's very hard. Okay. Of course, the last phase is to deliver a presentation and report. Okay. I may actually, very likely, depending on the time, I may ask for a presentation even in phase 2. Okay, so depending on the time, I may ask for a presentation in phase 2, which means that phase 2 is going to be graded. Because again, that's a slight difference that I plan to introduce, because again, students, they don't take it seriously because phase 1 and phase 2, it's not graded, so they don't really pay attention. But this time, no, we need to have some, serious work and serious effort introduced in phase 2 at least.
But how will the presentation in phase 3 differ from phase 2 in this case? Because how will you, I mean, results will be there, but how will you extend
Exactly.
the information itself? Like, assuming you will present the project in big detail,
Right.
how will you extend this information then in
I can assure you there will be some differences because in phase 3 you are expected to deliver detailed information about the technique, the approach, and because in phase 2 you may have some approach in mind, but it's not going to be very detailed or matured. Okay, even if you have some elementary results. In many cases, you have to go back to the approach, modify the approach, and come up with better results, and so on and so forth. So this will actually save time in phase 3. I'm expecting the groups to really, present the differences, what they have done in phase 3. So this way, we have some steps that we make sure that students are delivering things on time, and they are focusing on what needs to be delivered. Any questions? Phase 3, of course, you have to deliver the presentation, the report, and the implementation as well.
The implementation will be in which platform? So MATLAB, Python?
You tell me. That's what we're going to agree on in phase 1. Okay? In phase 1, you will see in the proposal, you need to show me. And by the way, phase 1 is not, phase 1, the phase 1 is done with the perception that I don't want groups to embark on working something that's not reachable. And I don't want groups to work on something that's trivial. This is the main issue. That's why we have the proposal. And we need to agree. Okay, so when I give you, the approval for phase 1, this means that it's okay for me that you can spend effort on this topic. But if you have some topic in mind and you don't know the complexities of this, it's my job to tell you that this objective is very far reached. You cannot really achieve this, at least within the time frame of the course, unless you have some work prior to the course and you just need to extend it. This is the only exception. But to start something from scratch and set this objective for yourself, it's almost impossible. Or this is trivial. This has been done. Many work has focused on this. So this is really redundant, and it doesn't actually. This does not mean that I expect students to invent something as part of this project. So we have to have some realistic objectives. So just the fact that the template, is done in a form of a paper, that doesn't mean that I'm expecting students to publish papers at the end of the course. Because some people, they force students to do that. No, this is not the idea. The idea is to try to practice how you actually can deliver research as much as possible. If you reach to some, significant outcomes, I'm going to give you some feedback. This deserves a publication. You can submit this to a conference. You can submit this to a journal. Or, the work is good, but, you need to work on it before you can reach to a publication level. Okay? So this is what we need to practice along the way. Any questions? Okay. So I think that's it. This is pretty much it, I guess. There's nothing else I need to cover here. I think we covered everything. Of course, the rest is copy-paste from the template of the college, so there's nothing. I added some ground rule here. Also, this is part of, based on some experiences. So late submission for any assignment, because students, they sometimes they try to utilize this if there is no rule. So I put the rule in the syllabus. This means that the syllabus is just a contract between me and the students. So once we cover this syllabus, this means that the contract is sealed. And for me to change this syllabus, I have to go back to the students and at least update the students that we're going to have to modify this term. So and some students, they don't know if they have some late submissions, they don't even have information what could be the problem. So I made it clear here, okay? So if we have a deadline, this means that every 24 hours after this deadline, if you don't submit, you have some 10% of this assessment grade will be deducted from you. And that's only fair because some students, they submit things on time, so we need to keep it fair. Okay? And it's not that some people, they say if you submit 1 hour after, then I don't accept it. It's 0. Okay? So we try to be somewhat reasonable. Okay? Any questions? Okay. طيب